February nights in New Hampshire are a special kind of dark. It isn't just the absence of light, it's a presence. It's a heavy, silent darkness that presses down on the roof of your house, that swallow sound that chills you deeper than the cold. I've lived on this same stretch of Route 112 for 43 years. My wife, Alina, used to say the woods have a memory. She passed a decade ago, but I find myself understanding her words more each winter. I know the sounds of this place by heart. The groan of frozen timber in the forest. The lonely howl of the wind as it whips through the white mountains. And the sharp, violent, unmistakable sound of a mistake on the asphalt on the evening of February 9th, 2004. I heard such a mistake. I was sitting right here in this chair, looking through an old photo album of Alina. The sound jolted me out of a memory and into a raw, immediate present. It wasn't a gunshot, not a falling tree. It was the sound of speed and ice having a brutal conversation. I got up, my old bones protesting, and looked out my front window. Through the skeletal fingers of the winter trees, I saw it. The headlights of a black Saturn sedan, buried nose first in a snowbank at the weathered barn corner. Everyone who lives here knows that turn. It's a predator disguised as pavement. It waits patiently for a moment of distraction, a touch too much speed. It has claimed cars, bones, and peace of mind for as long as I can remember. But what I saw in the minutes that followed, that's not in any police report. It's not in any documentary. I saw it, and I have carried the weight of that silence for nearly 20 years. The driver's side door opened. A young woman emerged, a ghost in a winter coat, illuminated by the twin beams of her own wrecked car. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just stood there, looking at the damage. She seemed dazed, yes, but not panicked. There was an odd stillness about her. I was about to reach for the phone on the wall when another vehicle appeared, coming from the east. It was a big, dark school bus, its yellow paint muted by the twilight. That was Butch Atwood, a good man, drove that bus route for years. I watched him pull over. I saw him get out and approach her. I couldn't hear the words from this distance, just the low murmur of voices carried on the wind. I saw her gesture, wave him off. I am okay. I've already called for help. Please don't call the police. That's what the official reports say she told him. A strange thing to say for someone stranded and alone after a crash. But the strangest part wasn't her words. It was what happened next. Because Butch wasn't the only other soul on that road. Further down, maybe 50 or 60 yards past the crash, tucked into a small dirt pull-off I use for firewood, another car was parked. Its lights were off. It was an older model sedan, dark, maybe a deep maroon or a rust color. Its shape almost completely devoured by the shadows. It looked like a wounded animal hiding in the brush. It wasn't there before the crash. Of that, I am certain. It arrived just after, gliding to a stop without a sound. And it just sat there, patient, waiting. Butch, from his angle, likely never even saw it. He got back in his bus, his duty done as he saw it, and drove off toward his house to make the call anyway. A good neighbor. He did what any of us would have done, and in doing so, he left her alone. But she wasn't alone. For a minute or two, she was isolated in the lonely pool of her headlights. I saw her pace a little, a small circle in the snow. She looked at her phone. The light from the screen illuminated her face, a pale, worried moon in the vast darkness. Then she looked up, and she looked directly towards the dark sedan. It wasn't a glance of surprise. It was a look of acknowledgement. She wasn't just seeing a car. She was looking at someone in the car. At that moment, I felt a cold knot tight in my stomach. This wasn't a simple accident. This was something else. This was an appointment. Then the night was torn apart by the approaching wail of a siren. The first police cruiser arrived. Blue and red lights strobed frantically, painting the trees and my living room walls in frantic, silent screams. I watched the officer, Jeff Williams, a young kid I'd known since he was in diapers, get out of his car. He walked around the Saturn, his breath pluming in the cold air. He shined his powerful flashlight inside, scanning the empty seats. He examined the snow, searching for tracks leading into the woods. He found nothing. No footprints, save for hers around the car. Just an empty vehicle, a box of wine on the passenger seat, and a rag inexplicably stuffed in the tailpipe. In the 7 or 8 minutes between Butch Atwood leaving and Officer Williams arriving, came to my door the next day. A polite state trooper. "Did you see anything last night, sir? Anything at all?" And I lied. I looked that man in the eye and said, "No, son. Just heard the crash, saw the flashing lights. Figured you had it handled. Why? Why did I lie? Because of what happened in that tiny window of time. The man in the second car, he saw me. After Butch left, I watched Maura walk away from her wrecked Saturn. She didn't run into the woods like a frightened deer. She didn't stumble off into the darkness, disoriented. She walked with a calm, steady purpose down the road towards the dark sedan. The passenger door opened for her before she even reached it. A silhouette of a man was behind the wheel. I couldn't see his face, just a shape cut from the fabric of the night. She got in. She didn't struggle. She didn't hesitate. As the car pulled away slowly, its headlights still off, the driver turned his head and looked directly at my house, directly at my window. It wasn't just a glance. In that split second, I felt seen. I felt known. It was a look that drilled right through the glass, right through the dark yard, and pinned me to the wall of my own home. It was a look that carried a message, as clear as if he had whispered it in my ear. "You saw nothing. Forget this, or the darkness you see out here will find its way into your home." The car then merged with the night and was gone. I stood there, my heart hammering against my ribs, a cold sweat on my brow. The fear was absolute. It was the primal fear of a predator you know has marked you. So I said nothing. For years, I lived with that secret. I saw her face on posters tacked to telephone poles. "Have you seen Maura?" I'd read the theories online, the endless articles, the armchair detectives arguing about tandem drivers and mental breakdowns. They talked about her packing her dorm room, the strange email to her boyfriend, the lies she told about a death in the family. They were all looking at the pieces of a puzzle, but they were missing the main piece. The piece I held. The piece that was burning a hole in my memory. A few times over the years, strange things would happen. A single, unfamiliar work glove left on my porch railing. A hang-up call on my landline in the middle of the night, with only the sound of breathing on the other end. Small things, plausibly deniable things, reminders. But I am an old man now. The silence has become a cancer. And last week it happened. was woken up around 2 a.m. by a feeling, the feeling of being watched. I looked out this same window, and there it was, parked in the exact same spot, a dark, rust-colored sedan. It just sat there for an hour, a silent sentinel in the dark. Was it him, after all this time? Or was it just my guilty conscience finally breaking my mind? I don't know, but I know I can't be silent anymore. This story, this truth, is too heavy for one old man to carry to his grave. The woods don't keep secrets forever. And sometimes the thing you should be most afraid of isn't the monster you hear howling in the forest. It's the man who stops to offer you a ride home from the darkness.